How you doing? My name is Ryan, and today I'm reviewing the rarest and most exclusive knockoff minifigures I could find. I'm talking Comic-Con exclusives, Toy Fair figures, and other collectible characters like Mr. Gold. Now, this knockoff minifigure from Pogo is pretty ubiquitous whenever you search for Mr. Gold on sites like Etsy or eBay. And it's clear why, as this knockoff is really well done. The printing and design are almost exact, the coloring is almost perfect, even the details of the pearl gold neck and leg connectors are right. In fact, in the past month, I've seen 2 sellers on eBay trying to pass off their knockoff minifigure as legitimate and sell it for upwards of $3,000. After asking for photos of the neck and hips because that's where the Lego logo would be, both of them admitted to the figure they were selling as not legitimate. The lesson here is simple. Always ask for additional photos. If a person is selling the real deal, they'll have no problem proving it. And put this Pogo figure side by side the official, it's pretty close. The coloring, as I said, is almost exact, with the fake being a little bit more yellow. But how about our next figure, this time from Comic-Con, Phoenix. This D-Cool knockoff of the 2012 figure is rather close in the torso, but the legs and face are really the dead giveaways here. The face print's a bit too wide and a bit too high up on the head, and the legs, the green doesn't match the torso, nor does the flag pattern fill the entire width of the legs. This is one of those cases where the design is totally right, but the execution is where it falters. Put side by side the official, and the quality of print is the dead giveaway that this is a knockoff. But how will our next figure fare? It's a knockoff of Black Suit Superman from Comic-Con 2013. I think I've already reviewed this XINH figure before, and I think the print just does a little bit too much. There's too much line work, there's too much extra arm printing, the plastic cape is a flat out wrong choice, and while it's close to the official model, I don't think this would pass as the Comic-Con collectible, which is not the worst thing in the world. This is one of those figures that straddles the line between knockoff and custom, as it's close enough to the Comic-Con figure that I can call it a knockoff, but it does enough new things that it could be considered a custom. But either way, it's not a great figure per se, it does a bit too much print work. We'll stick with DC as our next knockoff minifigure is Shazam from Comic-Con 2012. Now, I consider this figure from XINH more of a custom than a knockoff, as it's not really trying to mimic the Comic-Con figure. Put side by side, you see there are tremendous differences in design and print with these two, as this custom is going more so for the movie Shazam, whereas the Comic-Con one is going for comic Shazam. So I really have to grade this figure not so much on its ability to knock off an official figure, but as a custom, as its own thing. So, how is it? Well, it's pretty good. I do like all the print work on it. I think the dark red detail is kind of hidden within the red body. I'm not the biggest fan of the double cape in the back, but I like the idea behind it. And the face print is a little bit low on the head, but proportionally is correct. For $6 on Etsy, it's not bad. But how about our next figure, the Collector from 2014 Comic-Con? This figure from XINH is kind of baffling. The torso and face are almost exact replicas of the Comic-Con figure, but the hair, legs, and cape are so different. Put side by side the official, the knockoff has the wrong color cape, the wrong color hair, and incorrect printing on the legs. Although, unlike the Black Superman figure where it was kind of straddling the line between knockoff and custom, I think this one is more so of a knockoff because of how many elements are pulled directly from the official figure. Now, there's another collector knockoff figure by D-Cool that also exists, and it's a figure that's popped up on eBay before, again, trying to pass for the real deal. But how would you have known if this listing was fake if you came across it online? Well, I confirmed this figure was fake using HeroBlocks.com. HeroBlocks is a catalog of almost every knockoff and custom figure you can think of. After searching for the Collector, I found not only the real figure, but every iteration of this character in building block figure form. And there was the D-Cool version, an exact match with the listing. So consider HeroBlocks.com a great resource for you in not only finding knockoff minifigures, which ones exist, but avoid being tricked into buying them. How about our next knockoff, Spider-Man from 2013 Comic-Con? This one, by the way, is one of the most expensive Comic-Con figures you can find online, going for almost $13,000. So how does a $6 knockoff fare? Well, this figure from Korea falls into the trap of doing too much. The added arm printing, the added leg printing. While the torso and head look really nice, these extra details pull it away from being the real deal and put it into its own knockoff category. Put side by side the official, you can see what it's trying to do, but also where this knockoff just goes too far. For $6, if you want an Andrew Garfield Spider-Man figure, I think this is a pretty good version of it. If you want a knockoff closer to the original Comic-Con figure, there are a couple from Shenwan and D-Cool, but they're really hard to find these days. Our next knockoff is from 2017's Comic-Con. It's Vixen from DC's Legends of Tomorrow. This XINH figure is close, really close to being the real deal. The only difference I can see is in the hair color being a little bit too bright. The face placement is great, the print is wonderful, the quality overall looks really good for a knockoff. Put side by side the original, it's darn near indistinguishable, again minus the hair color. This is the kind of figure that if you came across it on eBay, you would need HeroBlocks.com to make sure you're getting the real deal. If it's not sealed in the original Comic-Con package, you really need to do your research. How about another DC knockoff, this time from 2018 Comic-Con? It's Black Lightning. Again, this figure from World Minifigures is a really good knockoff, very close to the original. The design is spot on, the print quality is rather good. The only real giveaway here is the face placement, which is a little bit low. Push side by side the original and you can see exactly what I mean. But this is a rather convincing knockoff of the official figure. If you came across questionable figures like these at toy fairs, you gotta start pulling heads off and pulling off legs, because that's where you'll find the LEGO logo to verify it's a real figure. Because sometimes you'll come across knockoff figures where every piece is official, except for one, the most important piece. Take, for example, 2012 Comic-Con's Symbiote Spider-Man. In the official figure, the torso, legs, and arms are all pre-existing parts and pretty cheap to get, whereas the head is the only exclusive and rare piece. I actually bought this figure off of eBay from a listing that claimed to be the real deal, but I kinda knew it wasn't. Take this figure and put it side by side the official, and the head is way off, the eyes are way too small. In fact, I think this person took the Spider-Man Noir figure and just sharpied around the eyes to make it look like the black suit Spider-Man figure. It's close, but again, if you have reference photos, it's pretty easy to tell. But if you're at a convention and you didn't know that the head is the only part you're looking for, and you pulled the legs off and saw that LEGO logo, you might be accidentally buying knockoffs as opposed to the real deal. Now thankfully, there really aren't any cheap knockoff versions of that Symbiote Spider-Man figure, so you won't really find a ton of listings for it on places like AliExpress or Etsy, but the same can't be said for my next figure, 2013 Comic-Con's Spider-Woman. This is a figure I see everywhere, and I can see why. It's a pretty easy figure design to knock off. The torso design is pretty simple, making it easy to replicate, as are the legs. The head is really the only giveaway here, as the face is a little bit too small and a little bit too low. When it comes to these knockoffs, every detail has to matter, but sometimes it's a little bit easier to spot the fake. Take our next figure, a knockoff of 2012 Comic-Con's Bizarro. If you didn't know exactly what the Comic-Con Bizarro looked like, you might have thought this D-Cool figure looked pretty good, was a good replica. But if you put it side by side the official, there are some major differences in print. The D-Cool figure's missing the sign, has the wrong face, and even the Superman logo on the knockoff is backwards. It should be reversed and not normal. This really is the kind of figure that would only fool like a parent or a grandparent trying to buy you a collectible figure that they find on a street fair. Otherwise, it really wouldn't fool a person who knows what they're looking for. And that's kind of a good thing. I don't want you to spend more than $6 on this knockoff. Moving on to our next knockoff from Comic-Con 2018, Sheriff Deadpool. This Pogo minifigure does a lot right. The design is a darn near replica of the original figure. The print quality, overall really good. The only mistake this figure made, being too greedy and adding too much. The official figure doesn't come with the katanas, the holsters, or even the guns. So a good tip, if you ever see a Sheriff Deadpool figure that comes with accessories, it's certainly a knockoff. But how about another Deadpool? Deadpool Duck. This Dargo knockoff of the 2017 Comic-Con figure is pretty darn good. The really only dead giveaway for me is the print quality. Look at the lower end of the beak and the eyes. There's little bits of scratched out print and print defects that flag this figure for me as being fake. Put side by side the original, if these defects weren't there, this would be a pretty convincing knockoff. Now let's take a break from heroes and villains for a little bit and zero in on some Lord of the Rings figures. We have a couple of knockoffs here, and the first one comes from 2013 Comic-Con's Bag End build. It's Bilbo Baggins. Now this is a figure that exists both as an exclusive figure, but then was later released in sets. And this is a darn good knockoff, almost perfect. In fact, I would say this is probably the best knockoff we've seen so far today. The only real differences I can see are in the lines around the eyes and under the mouth. Other than that though, this could easily pass for a real figure. Now it is worth noting that almost every Lord of the Rings exclusive figure eventually appeared in a set, which does lower the value of them overall. So if you're looking to collect exclusive figures, they're a great first step because they're a pretty low price value. But if you can't afford a figure for, say, 20 bucks, how about $6? Like this Azog knockoff from 2013's Comic-Con. This is a really well rendered knockoff with the print work and custom headpiece being handled beautifully, but there are a couple key differences that distinguish this one as fake. First is the mouth shape. The Comic-Con figure has a closed smile, whereas this one is an open mouth. And more importantly, the hand. The left hand is a custom mold, whereas this one cheaps out and goes for a regular black hand. For $6, it's a good knockoff, but I'm pretty sure the Comic-Con figure goes for like 30 bucks on Bricklink, so you really don't need to pay that much more for the official figure. One more Lord of the Ring knockoff, it's Bard the Bowman. Sorry Bilbo, but this pogo figure of Bard ranks as the best knockoff of the day. It is flawless. I cannot find a single fault in how this figure is handled. Put side by side the official, it really is just incredible. However, despite appearing in the 2014 Comic-Con blister pack, this knockoff cost me $6 on Etsy. The official figure goes on Bricklink for $4. I literally spent more money on the knockoff than I would have if I just bought the official figure. In fact, I'm just gonna buy the official now just cuz. Okay, the Bard figure is on its way, and while we wait, how about a knockoff Captain America figure, this time mimicking his 2016 Comic-Con look. This Pogo brand minifigure does a pretty good job of replicating the Secret Empire look of this Captain America, but print quality is always dead giveaway. The chipping of the paint on the face would never happen on an official figure without some major wear and tear. Put side by side the original, you can also see some contrast issues in the torso and legs. The Pogo figure is overall just lesser quality. It can be a bit tough because sometimes the companies making the knockoffs will put really high quality images out when they're trying to sell you the figure, but then when you get it, it looks kind of different, kind of smudged or lower contrast. So I recommend hopping over to HeroBlocks.com, finding the exact model number of the figure, and then typing that into Google. You'll find plenty of user images of the figure to give you a better idea of what the knockoff will look like when you get it in the mail. So how about another Captain America Comic-Con figure? This time, it's Sam Wilson. This figure from Minifigs Arena is really good looking. The color contrast is right, the print job is well done, everything is handled really well. Put side by side the original, there really aren't many differences. But this knockoff figure is special for one specific reason. Despite being $8 on eBay, it was actually printed on official Lego pieces. You pull off the head and you pull off the legs, you'll see the Lego logo on the hips and on the neck. So there are three options here. I either bought a really high quality knockoff on eBay for dirt cheap, I got a Leo Brick knockoff, a company that is famous for making perfect replicas of figures on official Lego pieces, or crazy wishful thinking, somebody sold me an official Comic-Con figure for dirt cheap on eBay. I'd like to think it's the third option, but something tells me it's either one or two. I'm not sure which though. As for this figure, it's a really good knockoff, and had I not known that it was a knockoff when I bought it, I would not be sure if it was. With these kind of figures, unless it comes with the official blister pack and is sealed, sometimes you really can't tell, and that's a little bit dangerous. So always do your research and always ask who you're buying from. Again, if they're selling the real deal, they'll have no issue proving it. But how about a figure I know for a fact is fake without even doing any research? It's this knockoff of Green Lantern from Comic-Con 2011. This Pogo figure is weird. The shoulder pads, the cape, the face are just objectively wrong, whereas the torso is really good, both in design and in print. And while it's not an exact replica to the Comic-Con figure, it's close enough that clearly some effort put into it to make it look like the Comic-Con figure. But the eyes and face on this one are just so strange, I don't know what to think of it, to be honest. It's just weird. It's one of those weird knockoffs that you just come across on Etsy or eBay. Let's keep with the green theme and review the Green Arrow next, a knockoff of its figure from Comic-Con 2013. The overall figure is very dark and not truly accurate to the official figure. The added arm printing is too much, the face is way off, and the overall color scheme hues dark green when it should be regular green and light green. I feel like this was a figure that was made years after the Comic-Con one came out, and they're trying to pull more so from the show's design than the Comic-Con figure's design, but there's enough here that it could fool someone into thinking, ooh, I got a Comic-Con figure for $6, when, no you didn't, you never will. Anyway, we have 2 more figures left, and up next is Arsenal from 2015's Comic-Con. Unlike Green Arrow, this figure is much more successful at copying the official design, but there are still a few giveaways. The size of the zipper is too small, the backpack straps are too small as well, and the leg straps are a bit too high up. The face has 2 fold issues, with the eyes being too small and the entire print being too low on the head. It's closer, but not close enough to fool anybody, and that's kind of a good thing. One last figure left, and it's the Atom from Comic-Con 2016. This figure from XINH is kind of a half measure in trying to copy the official figure and being its own thing. The overall color scheme is bright blue and bright red as opposed to the dark blue found on the official figure, but on its own, this is a really fun knockoff minifigure. I love the patterning, I love the detail on it, I love that everything is still very balanced. The custom helmet with the face shield is also a very nice touch. While this figure was released the same year as the Comic-Con version, I think it does just enough differently for me to categorize it as more of a custom than a knockoff. And there you have it. To the untrained eye, I have a collection of Comic-Con and exclusive figures that I bought for only about $50. But with HeroBlocks.com, some reference images, and a little bit of common sense, it's pretty easy to tell that these knockoffs are just that. Knockoffs. But still, all too often, I see people posting on eBay their knockoff figures, claiming they're the real deal, and trying to sell them for big bucks. Now, before you harass any sellers on eBay, sometimes they don't know they have a knockoff. Just because you know it's a knockoff doesn't always mean they do. Try to give people on eBay the benefit of the doubt before you call them out. And if they're looking for instructional resources as to what are these knockoffs, I am currently working on a script for my ultimate guide to knockoff minifigures, so if you have any questions about knockoffs that you want answered in that video, leave them in the comment section down below. Also, this channel recently hit over 30,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough. It feels like only yesterday I hit 20,000, and only 2 days ago I hit 10,000. Truly time flies, and you guys are the best audience a YouTube creator can ask for. Thank you again, and as always, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.